Commissioner Ferrin.
Okay. I have a lot of notes, and I fear I have too much to say about this. But I'll start with a story. In 1985, I started working for a civil engineer, and part of my job was to do grading plans. And for 13 years, I did grading plans periodically along with other types of design work. And then when I became an architect, I continued doing my own grading plans because I felt comfortable with them. And I'm only telling everybody this because I feel very qualified to evaluate the grading that we're seeing. And I totally agree with Vice Chair Francis's comments about the pre-screen. And that is what is so very difficult about this, because we actually have more design information than I think we should have. And what makes it even worse is that the applicant thinks that they have a plan that's close. And I don't think that at all. I'm glad that the pre-screen does not guarantee anything. It just guarantees that they can go to the next step to a specific plan. This is flatland style development. The homes are designed for flat properties. There are some stepped properties that are split level, but it's only to accommodate the steep slope, as it should. I do agree, if we can see maybe a site plan, I think the clustered development is right on. I think it's the development is where it should be, with a little bit of flexibility. Actually, the color one's probably better. I think that we shouldn't fall into the trap that we're getting some grand benefit of all this other property that's associated, what is it, the 175 acres that's associated with this. They do not want that property. What are they going to do with it? Okay, it's 30% plus grades. They do not want it. So let's not fall into the trap of it is a great community benefit, but let's not give them too much credit for it. I do give them credit for going out and finding the other piece of property and offering that. I give you tons of credit for that. So that shows me that you are interested in being a good community developer. You are looking at that. There are other things that I think you're in denial about, like the large building pads. The smallest pad is 9,000 square feet, some of them step. Much larger, as I said before, than single-family residential lots on flat land in this entire Midtown community, downtown as well. I mean, anywhere that I can pretty much think of. The grading is incompatible with the neighborhood. It is completely incompatible with the neighborhood. The idea of the pads, what you need is, and one of the reasons that the HMP does not talk about too much about grading related to the site as it does about the streets, because the assumption is that the street is what causes the most grading, and that is what's happening in the neighborhood below it. And so I think that's one thing that they missed, that after the HMP was created, they didn't realize that somebody would want to come in and create huge pads. They assumed that somebody would want to come in and put in streets and then have sloping properties that you could terrace and grade to a lesser degree than what you're proposing. The streets don't follow the contours. I get it. It's not going to be zigzaggy as much as some of the other streets that are below the project. And I know that the street's wider than a lot of those streets, and they should be. But Hall Canyon is a wider street, and you can see even on this map some of the existing streets are as wide as the street that you're proposing. So Hall Canyon's probably going to be your primary exit, and it is not incompatible with the street that you're proposing. But the streets need to better fit the contours. You're just kind of plowing over everything, where there's a ridge, you're cutting through it, where there's a barranca, you're filling over it, respecting the landscape. I'm giving you some design comments. I know that that's not what this is for, but I think for me to be comfortable with this, there has to be some controls on this, some things that we can give to City Council to say these things should be added to your comments to allow the pre-screen to go forward. The 2-to-1 cut and fill slopes. Yes, that is an industry standard. Most agencies have a maximum steepness of slope of 2-to-1. If you've ever stood next to 2-to-1s, and I know that people have, and maybe not realized it, it's a very, very steep slope. It's not something you're going to just start walking up. It's the slope that is there where the V is around 30%. So we're creating a 50% slope there now. This is not going to be something aesthetically pleasing. The other part to that is that slope where the V is from the closest pad level. This is not from the bottom of the development. From the highest pad level, right there, that slope's going to rise 140 feet vertically. It will be seen from everywhere. You cannot hide it. The home size on the hill. I work in a lot of communities around here, in LA area and Santa Barbara, Montecito. So I'm a little bit familiar with other hillside, what other cities do for their hillside. And I think most of you have seen the Santa Barbara Riviera and been in places in Montecito and been to Castaic and to Santa Clarita. Castaic and Santa Clarita that cut everything. Huge cut slopes. 2-to-1 cut slopes. Castaic, they make shelves out of their mountains. That's what they do. And they put a house on them. Santa Barbara, you look at the Riviera, there is no trace of pads. There's no trace of slopes. Montecito has requirements. I just did a sort of a test for the size lots that you have and the steepness of the area. In Montecito, you would be allowed to have 2,000 square feet of living area plus a garage. That's what you'd be able to have. And Santa Barbara is very similar to that. Both cities have regulations against mansionization, and you wouldn't think that those cities do, but they do. You have to have a really big piece of property to build a big house. General Plan Goal 1 asks us to be a model for other communities of environmental responsibility by living in balance with our natural setting. This project does not yet achieve the goal of being environmentally sensitive or a green project. There are aspects that are very attractive, so I don't want to be completely negative with you. You have some really good things that you're planning to do. You just need to build on that. Not quite sure if I should go through everything I have, but there were some things that I saw, and maybe there are some differences that are not important, but there are some general plan conflicts and applicable goals, policies, and actions other than what I saw in the staff report. General Plan Goal 1, our natural community, to be a model for communities of environmental responsibility. I just talked about that. That wasn't in the staff report. General Plan Goal 3, our well-planned and designed community, protect our hillside, respect our diverse neighborhoods, make great places by insisting on the highest standards of quality in architecture, landscape, and urban design. General Plan Policy 3A, sustain and complement cherished community characteristics. General Plan Action 3.2, enhance the appearance of districts, corridors, and gateways, including views from highways, very important, through controls on building placement, design elements, and signage. General Plan Policy 4D, protect views along scenic routes. We have a few scenic routes around here. And now some HMP objectives that I think are really important. Land use objective B, to protect the natural and scenic resources of the hillside area in conjunction with future hillside development. I don't think there's a person in this room that doesn't want that to happen. Land use objective D, to preserve the residential nature and character of established hillside neighborhoods. That's the question that I asked the applicant earlier. Circulation objective C, to minimize the scarring effect of major hillside streets. That's what I was referring to. They're mostly concerned with the streets because they didn't anticipate that somebody would be building big pads. That's my opinion. Resource protection objective A, to maintain the scenic character of hillsides and areas of future development by preserving significant natural landmarks and scenic ridgelines and slopes. And then lastly, HMP project review standards, grading, and site design policy 1. Hillside development should minimize grading, terracing, padding, and cut and fill to the maximum extent possible. Where grading, terracing, and padding or cut and fill is unavoidable, it should be shaped and rounded to simulate natural appearing contours. So, general statements about building on hillsides, to me, that speak to all of those general plan conflicts and other HMP goals. All of my concerns are related to compatibility with hillside in the neighborhood, so that is the big issue. In favor of having the appropriately scaled clustered project in the general location of the proposed project that is compatible with the existing neighborhood and that maintains the natural character of the hillside. That's the big thing that needs to happen. Another thing is that an executive home is widely considered to be a moderately large and well-appointed house, Wikipedia's definition. But for us, we need to establish what that means. How big is the house? Maybe it's not the size of the house, maybe it's the quality of the house. Maybe it's what the yard is like, and maybe it's the preservation of the hillside, the character of Ventura. With better design, I believe that up to 55 high-quality homes in this site is feasible. I think you can do it. So these are the things that I would like to have put into the... Am I going too long?
No, I think you have some great comments, and I just for the audience and the applicants, Commissioner Ferrin is our liaison. He's also on the Design Review Committee, and I love our Design Review Committee, and I've often felt that there should be grief counselors outside after an applicant comes before them, and I appreciate everything you're saying. I'm happy to include that if the other commissioners feel the same.
So with what we're seeing, and I'm responding to the design that we have, the grading and site planning design, these are the problems with, these are the things that are not working with the goals and policies. Scarring due to very tall and steep slopes on hillside and prominent ridge lines, where none currently exist, are visible from highways and from the Midtown community and other vantages. Limited ability to plant or landscape slopes at a 2-to-1 maximum slope allowed. Even when planted with plants that may survive, these slopes will always appear as large cuts in the hillside. That's something I didn't talk about much before, but you can barely plant anything on a 2-to-1 slope. You will always see a 2-to-1 slope when it's next to a 3-to-1 or flatter slope because it won't have the same characteristics. You cannot hide it with landscaping. Since the slopes have maximum steepness, cut and fill slopes will look unnatural. The proposed streets don't follow the contour of the land to minimize the scarring effect on the natural slopes. The proposed large building pads and related grading are incompatible with the adjacent neighborhood. Low terracing slopes and retaining walls should be used to follow the contour of the land to create space for buildings and yards. So I think I've talked a lot, but
Yeah, I think that's
that's
probably enough.
mostly it. Thank you.
No, thank you. And, you know, for someone said you weren't really going to, you know, we weren't looking at designs, or we certainly just did. But I think there are very good comments. And go ahead.
If I were to wrap, because I meant to wrap it up and I didn't,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go
because I want to come back to what I agreed with about what you said and what really bothers me right now is that I'm not sure that based on the responses he gave to my questions, I'm not sure that they are committed to that. So I'm willing to move forward in a pre-screen, but I'm concerned that something might happen along the way with the process, either with the developer or with decisions that are made.